Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we'll be exploring something that I think a lot of people can relate to. The evolving relationship between fathers and their adult children. And specifically, we're going to be looking at the emotional dynamics and communication patterns, how those look. And all of this is based on a recent Pew Research Center survey that really revealed some pretty interesting findings about how dads experience these relationships, especially compared to moms.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
In the data skies, we take our flight. Trends and numbers come to life. Colors and charts, they dance and play. Showing truth in a visual way. In GenderDecoded, we uncover truths and stories like no other. In the data waves we find the secret maps of humankind.
Like imagine your dad, super proud of you, successful, but underneath, maybe feeling a little disconnected.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Today we're diving into exactly that, using this research on, dads and their adult children, specifically the 18 to 34-year-olds.
A stage of life we don't talk about much, right? I mean, all the focus is on the little kid years.
But this is huge EE, the relationship totally changes. So what does this research find out about how dads experience all this?
Well, first off, it's not all doom and gloom. Dads are overwhelmingly proud. Like, seriously.
Oh, I bet. That makes sense.
They tie their parenting to how the kids turned out, the successes, even the failures. They see it as reflecting on them.
Interesting. But you said it's not all sunshine, right?
Yeah, there's this disconnect. And it's more common for dads to feel it than moms.
Really? Stronger for dads. Why do you think that is?
Could be a few things. One thing the data shows, a full third of dads, 33%, they wish they were more involved in their adult kids' lives.
Wow, a third.
But for moms, it's only 22% who feel that way.
So a decent gap there. Does that mean dads are just bad at keeping in touch?
No, I wouldn't say that. It's more nuanced. Like, think about societal expectations. What do we expect from dads as kids get older?
Yeah, true.
The provider role, that's been the classic dad image, right? Maybe that doesn't translate well when it's less about money, more about emotional stuff.
So we almost expect less emotional involvement from dads as kids become adults.
Possibly. Not saying it's right or wrong, but these unspoken rules, they might be creating these unintentional barriers.
Makes you think, And this research dug into communication too, right? Like how often they actually connect.
Oh, yeah. And that's where it gets even more interesting. Both moms and dads say they want to be involved, but
dads don't feel as involved, even if they want to be.
Exactly. And look at the specifics. Texting, for example. Most parents DO text their adult kids weekly, but daily texting.
I bet that's different.
40% of moms text daily, but only 19% of dads.
Wow, that's almost half.
Big difference. And it's not just texting. Phone calls, in-person visits, similar pattern, moms are more frequent.
Listener, think about your own family, how you connect. No judgment here, but those gaps, they're real. And it makes you wonder, why are they there?
Right. Now let's talk emotional support. This one surprised me. Only 41% of parents say their adult kids rely on them a lot for emotional stuff.
That's way lower than I'd have guessed. Do grown kids just not need their parents as much emotionally?
Maybe, maybe not. But here's the thing. Even within that 41%, dads are less likely to be the relied upon one.
So even when adult kids DO seek support, they go to mom more.
Seems that way. Now, interestingly, dad's answers were the same whether the kid was a son or daughter.
Oh.
But moms were way more likely to be the support for daughters.
Wow. So those gender roles, they really play into this even in adulthood.
They really do. And on the flip side, only 18% of parents say they rely on their kids emotionally. Again, dad's less likely.
So the roles are changing, right? Kids becoming the support sometimes. That's got to be a big shift for everyone.
Huge shift. And we're just scratching the surface here. What do the kids themselves say about all this? We'll find out right after the break. Makes you think, doesn't it? How much of that's still sticking around, even as we try to, move past those old ideas?
Right. And we've seen the communication gaps, these changing roles. It's not about pointing fingers. It's about realizing this stuff takes work from both sides.
And when you become an adult, it's almost like the old parent-child thing fades, you know? It's new territory.
Like learning a whole new dance. So how do we start bridging these gaps, build those stronger connections?
Well, we got to address those unspoken expectations, the ones that could be getting in the way without us even realizing it.
You mean those assumptions we have, like how a dad should be, how involved?
Exactly. Like, we might just assume dads aren't as into the emotional stuff or the details of our lives compared to moms.
And then that becomes the reality, right? If you don't expect it, you don't invite it.
Totally. But the thing is, tons of dads, Dio, want that deeper connection. They just might not know how to get there.
So how do we break the cycle? Rewrite the script, so to speak.
First, just acknowledge those expectations exist. Once we see them, we can start challenging them. In ourselves and in the family.
So create that space where dads feel comfortable being emotional, being involved.
Exactly. And for us, the grown-up kids, we got to take initiative too. Reach out, share what's up in our lives, ask about theirs.
Love that. We're not just passively waiting, we're shaping the relationship. And finding common ground, that's got to help too, right?
Oh, huge. We grow up, interests change, but there's always those points of connection.
Like imagine a dad who's into history and the kid is all about sci-fi.
Yeah.
Watch a documentary together about like historical events that inspired sci-fi movies.
Perfect example. Finding those creative intersections, showing you're curious. And it doesn't have to be big stuff either.
Just a text saying you're thinking of them, a quick call to chat, even if there's no big news.
Those little touch points, they add up over time. Show you care, keep those lines open.
All right, even when life gets busy. And we can't forget shared experiences. Those create memories, strengthen the bond, you know.
For sure. Doesn't have to be fancy. Walk in the park, trying a new restaurant, whatever. It's that time together.
And you're talking, laughing, connecting beyond just the day-to-day stuff.
Totally. And this is key too. Remember, everyone communicates differently.
Some people are texters, some are phone call people, right?
Find what works for each person. Be respectful of that. Don't force dad to text if he hates it.
Or if you're not a big talker, maybe send him articles about his hobbies. Something like that. Just find that way to connect that feels genuine.
Exactly. But let's be real. This whole thing can be messy. It's a process.
There'll be bumps, misunderstandings, all that.
Happens to everyone. Relationships are a work in progress. Keep trying, keep talking, keep those lines open.
Like any good relationship. Takes effort, you got to understand each other, be willing to adapt.
And forgive. We all mess up, say the wrong thing sometimes. Give each other a break, focus on that bigger picture.
Good reminder. We're human, we're learning, we're doing our best. Even if that best isn't always perfect.
Well said. As we wrap up this part, I just want to say, these changing dynamics, they don't make the father-child bond less important.
If anything, it's a chance to go deeper. The relationship grows up too, you know?
It does. You move past those childhood roles and it becomes, well, two adults connecting authentically.
And that's where the magic is. Vulnerability, honesty, being yourself. That builds real understanding. It's not about reaching some perfect ideal. It's messy, it changes, but that connection is worth it.
Couldn't agree more. And all this research we've talked about, those are trends, but every family is unique.
What works for one might not work for another. This is a starting point, something to think about for your family.
Raise awareness. Open those doors to more fulfilling relationships, no matter how old we are.
It's so true. Now, listener, in the last part of our deep dive, we're getting even more practical. We know the challenges. Now, how do we actually tackle them? Stick around. Okay, so we've mapped out the territory. Now, how do we actually navigate it? We know the challenges, but what can we do about them?
Time for the how-to part. Right. Let's start with communication. We've talked about those gaps. How do we actually bridge them?
Well, we touched on this before, but it's really about meeting dad where he is at.
Exactly.
If he hates texting, don't blow up his phone every day. Maybe a weekly call is better.
It's about respecting their style, but still showing you want to connect. And remember those love languages.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Maybe dad's is acts of service, so instead of a text, offer to help him with something.
Even remotely, right? Like if he's having computer trouble.
Boom! Fix it for him over video chat. That'll mean more than 100 "how are your texts?"
Really. Now, emotional support. That can be tricky. But even if dad isn't usually the one you lean on.
He might still want to be.
All right, those roles change as we grow up. So instead of studying he doesn't care about your tough day, try opening up a bit.
You might be surprised. Even just saying, "Hey, I value your advice, Dad," can make a difference.
It's an invitation, right? Now, what if it's the other way around? What if dad's the one who needs support?
That's tough. You gotta be respectful of boundaries instead of a blunt, "Are you okay?" Which can feel...
Pushy.
Yeah. Try sharing something you're going through. It might open the door for him to do the same.
Subtle. I like it. Now, the big one. Generational differences. Ugh. Sometimes it feels like we disagree with our dads on everything.
This is where active listening is key. Doesn't mean you agree with everything he says.
But you're really trying to understand where he's coming from.
Exactly. Even if you end up disagreeing, just showing you get IT can strengthen the bond.
It's like we're both products of our time, right?
Yeah.
He's got his experiences, we've got ours.
And sometimes a little humor helps.
Oh, for sure. Diffuses the tension. Now, quality time. It's not just about how often you see each other, it's how you spend that time.
Put the phone away. Be present.
So, scrolling through social media during dinner with Dad. Bad idea.
Let's just say, there are better ways to connect. Plan activities you'll both enjoy. That's where shared hobbies come in.
Like if Dad's a woodworker, maybe take a beginner class together.
Exactly. You're making memories, learning new stuff. That's powerful. And last but not least, give each other grace.
Things will get messy. We'll say the wrong thing, get frustrated.
It's going to happen. The important thing is keep talking, keep trying, keep showing up for each other.
Because it's not about this perfect father-child fantasy, right? It's real life. It's messy.
But even messy connection is so valuable. It's
Yeah.
love, support, understanding. That's what enriches our lives.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So listener, as we wrap up this deep dive, we leave you with this. What one small step can you take today to connect with your dad?
A text, a call, an activity. Doesn't matter. It's never too late to build something meaningful. That effort is worth it.
So keep diving deep, exploring those relationships, and until next time, keep nurturing those connections.